person. He goes for the jugular in a big way. Like, it's vicious in many ways. You know, you watch his latest one and you look at stuff like what he did at the end, you know, the diss track is comedy gold. There's no question about that. And talking about that guy as a person is important in and of itself, because you're talking about an inherently dishonest personality who is consistently lying to people, misleading kids, scamming people, misrepresenting his life in a big way. I think you're never going to be able to completely divorce that from drama, right? But is it justified? I mean, probably, yeah. You know, the guy deserved everything he got and then some in that video. He's a piece of shit.
One of the things, like back when drama was really becoming a thing, or something that really bothered me about Leafy and some of his contemporaries, was that they didn't care who they made a video about, right?
No, they didn't. You
and
know,
then they end up like just shitting on some random 12-year-old kid, and it's like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. Like, they have no morals, like, in that respect. And I think maybe when you get to that point, the only approach is to hit them back as hard, if not harder. Half of me makes me wonder if the kind of person that enjoys that would just revel in that notion. You know, do they even care who's getting made fun of, even if it's Leafy himself? You know, does that help him in some way? I don't know. It's hard to know. You know, when you have a really large audience, you've got a responsibility one way or the other. You know, I have responsibility. All of us do.
I agree.
To try and make the site better, to try and encourage a culture that isn't fucking horrible, and to also try and make content that is going to make us all money. You know, it's going to make advertisers happy, but without compromising our creative freedom. That's a real fucking tricky balancing act.
I think one of the problems that happens is when you have a huge channel with a lot of influence and they don't respect that influence.
Yes.
And that can turn sour.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what fucking T Martin and Pro Syndicate did.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
my God.
Literally scamming children with gambling.
That was basically, that
and
was
they
like
got out of
rock
it
bottom.
too.
Well, they didn't. I mean, there's still the court case going on.
No, I think it was. I think I even spoke to Team. I think it's gone. I think they've been.
As far
dropped.
as I know, there is still a civil case going on, but the FTC ruling came through.
And it dropped, right?
They didn't fine them, but they did impose a bunch of restrictions. Like, apparently, if they ever want to do anything sponsored ever again, they literally have to submit all of this shit in writing to the FTC. For like 10 years or some shit.
There was a guy. Would even do it though, because they were supposed to do it from the beginning.
It's a good question.
Like who's going to hold their feet to the fire?
Well, hopefully the FTC. I mean, you know, hopefully they've pissed off the FTC enough that they're on their radar now. There's a little guy called Tarmac did a really good video where he analyzed the ruling, and there's actually some quite restrictive shit that has been aimed at both of them. And you would hope that now that the FTC has said you are going to play ball and you are going to do everything by the book, that if they step out of line, if they even fucking breathe wrong, that they come down on them like a ton of bricks.
I'd hope so. That's what you would assume to happen from the beginning.
That's what you would hope. You know, I mean, I think we all imagined that they got sued for and fined millions and millions of dollars, but that didn't happen. You know,
I think they're totally fine, as I understand it. But
I think they are right now.
Let's circle back to that, because I want to say there was another issue you criticized us for during the apocalypse.
Sure.
We made a video talking about how like YouTube's changing and we're gonna have to find different ways to make money. We can't make videos like we used to and generate the revenue. And I think you made a video saying that we were.
I didn't make a video.
Or no, it was a podcast.
I think it was like a SoundCloud or something.
Yeah, it was just a SoundCloud podcast where you were saying, or what was your point there?
I don't know. I can't remember which bit of that. That was a 45-minute fucking podcast.
Something about that we were, I guess, or your CPMs were good.
Yeah.
And we never showed our earnings, so you were like...
that was what it was. And that was, like, totally fucking wrong of me to do, because it's weird to look at your own data, think, right, well, CPM should, in theory, be fairly consistent across different regions. So if I'm looking at my data and I'm seeing strong CPMs and I'm seeing a good fill rate, and then you've got a channel that's bigger than mine, that's getting a lot more views than mine, that's getting, you know, very American-oriented audience, which is the biggest ad market there is in the world.
Yeah.
To imagine that a channel like that could go down as far as it did, and of course, now we know that they did this demonetization shit that we didn't know about.
They didn't
even tell us.
They would show that it was completely fine.
Yes, they would, yeah.
And only till like this month, they started showing that it was actually not.
Yeah, and because I didn't know about that, and nobody did. This is the real fucking problem. Nobody knew about any of this shit. and YouTube didn't communicate it to people,
Well,
and they're still not doing it.
In a span of like 1 week, we went from making about $3 CPM to 25 cents
25
CPM.
cents, yeah.
And like, I mean, in your defense, we didn't show any of the earnings. Just that's generally just something we've never done for whatever reason.
I don't blame you in the slightest for that.
It's like old school etiquette. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't share. I mean, it causes so much drama to even share that information.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. You know, and I'll cop to it. It was wrong to say that. You know, to bring that into doubt in the first place.
Right.
It was such a fucking mess at the time.
I appreciate you saying that, but again, it's fairly defensible in a way because, and that's part of what was so sinister about what they were doing. Because you can have someone like you who you're like, I'm actually having a really good month.
Everything seems to be good.
And there were a few people like that. I remember we talked to
Casey Neistat.
Like Casey.
He just thought we were all bitching.
Yeah.
And now, just last month, he's posting on Twitter like, fuck YouTube for not monetizing my video.
Yep.
And it's like, man, we've been getting killed out here for a minute.
Yeah.
But I guess that segues to my next point, which is that we're both critical people. It's part of our profession and what we do. Have you ever gone hard on someone or something and later, with distance and retrospect, come to regret it or be like, maybe that was not the right way to approach it?
I mean, honestly, if I look back at a lot of my old stuff, if I could go back and redo a lot of my more negative videos in a way that was less based around the kind of firebrand, almost entertainment pundit kind of style of doing things, and just being a bit more constructive in the negativity, I'd probably do that. Like, I think a lot of my old negative stuff was like over exaggeration of, you know, oh, here's a really bad game. Look at how shitty this is. Ha ha ha. Like, I could have used that time to look at something that was better or at least more interesting, right? And you can rag on something and it's entertaining to just rag on it. But it's like, well, what purpose did it serve? No one was going to buy that shitty game in the first place. No one was going to care. And if we did criticize something, did we go too far to try, you know, maybe to make people more interested in watching our videos by being hyperbolic? Yeah, totally. I think, like, the thing I've been considering over the last couple of years is completely killing the cynical Brit brand because I don't think it actually represents what we do anymore. I don't think it has for a while. It gives this sort of angry video game nerd vibe, which we're not.
Right.
You know, he was always in it for the comedy.
And that thing is like obviously a shtick, right?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a persona.
Yeah.
I don't have a persona when it comes to critiquing video games.
Right.
Like, there may have been a bit of one back then, but these days, nah.
Okay.
So I'd love to take a hatchet to some of that old stuff. I really would, and look at it and say, look, if either this game is a waste of time and we just ignore it because no one was going to even care about it. If people only cared about it because I told them to look at how shitty it was, you know?
You feel bad for like the devs, or you just think that it's not a good way to?
I just think it's a bad way to use an audience's time. Like, I wasted the audience's time on that
entertaining
stuff.
though.
Yeah, but it's not an entertainment channel, you know? I mean, if that was the purpose
Did
of
they
the
get
channel,
more views, those videos?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course they did. But I look at it now and, like, I really want to use that channel as a platform in a time where there is over 6,000.
Promote the good guys, instead
or at least
of
the
shitting
interesting stuff,
Right,
you know?
right.
Because there's 6,000 Steam games coming out this year.
That's unbelievable.
6 fucking thousand, right? And there's a bunch of stuff coming out that no one's even looking at that's good. That's, like, really good. It might not be perfect, but it's interesting and it's unique and it deserves some support and a spotlight.
Right.
So, particularly over the last few years with the diagnosis and not being able to work as much, it's come really clear into focus that time is a very valuable resource. And not just my time, the time of the viewers. So I should be making something that is useful to them.
Right.
And, you know, poking, you know, kind of doing the entertainment, poking holes in something that's obviously shitty, isn't it that? You know, that's not useful.
That's a good point. I mean, that's a really powerful point,
agree.
I think. Yeah, that's cool.
I can see that from the way that we make videos too. Like, are we gonna just find something that's like too obvious? I don't know, and just make a video about it, or really make an effort to find something more interesting?
I mean, you're never going to hit gold every time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, our goal is to entertain people.
I know it's different, yeah. But still, we also have the way that we choose what to talk about.
Yeah. It's honestly come to the point where we just don't make that many videos anymore on H3. Because I refuse to force myself to react to something that just isn't either people don't deserve to be made fun of, or it doesn't deserve to be shit on, or it's just not interesting. It's like, weirdly, sometimes those videos yield good results, but it's like you have to fucking tear it out of you. I want to ask you this question, and forgive me.
What you got? Go for it.
The moment that I posted about this on our subreddit, every single question was, "Are traps gay?"
I know where that's going.
Well, hold on. I'll try to take this in a direction you may not expect. I was like, "What the fuck? These people are relentless."
Oh yeah,
it was like every single. And thanks to our dutiful mods who cleaned it up and removed 99% of "Are the traps gay?" But can you explain what happened
why
there?
they're doing that? Yeah, I could totally do that. So we run a little convention in the UK every year called CoxCon. It's started off as a joke. Like Jesse Cox, who's longtime friend, co-host of my podcast, been around forever, went to a show called GemuCon in the UK, and he told his fans, "Hey, come to it. We're gonna do a panel. We're gonna do a meet and greet." It was great. Second year, he gets more involved with them and he tells people to do it again. Well, turns out the show cancelled, like right before the event was supposed to start, like literally a day before. They didn't have the money. So people were in the UK that spent money on hotels, that spent money on flights. They'd got nothing to do. Jesse felt personally responsible for that because he's endorsed that show. He told people to come to see him. So he's like, I'm going to make this right. And he took like 300 people to like an arcade and did a bunch of cool stuff on his own dime. And he said, "We're calling this CoxCon now." And that joke became an actual show. And he's like, "Well, I don't get over to the UK very often. I really want an opportunity to connect with our UK audience and give them a place where they can meet us and actually spend some real time with us on a pretty small scale, nothing huge." So we made a convention as like, I think first year was 1,000 tickets, and then we expanded it to 1,500, and that's where we kept it. We could go much bigger than that, but we didn't do it, and we sell out every year. So it has this very small community feel. We know a lot of the people that come every year as a result of that. So third year in, and we have a mix of vendor stuff at the expo floor, panels, signing sessions, all the kind of stuff you usually expect at a convention. And Jesse opens the show. Everything's going just fine. There's like pretty much 1,200 people in the auditorium, I think. And he does his little Q&A segment. And some guy stands up and he goes just kind of out of nowhere, "Jesse, so are traps gay?"
Right.
Jesse has no idea what he's talking about.
I saw the video. He just looked confused.
Yeah.
He didn't look angry or he was just like,
what? He had no idea what this person was talking about. He's like, "What?" And there's like a little bit of nervous laughter around. Like we'd hot mic that audience. You watch some of the other stuff, the audience is loud. Like you'd be able to tell if they were happy. It was a lot of like cringy kind of, what? Kind of laughter going on. And he asks it again. And Jesse sort of palms it off because he's like, he can see people kind of getting visibly uncomfortable. And he just like takes it off on a tangent, and that's that.
Okay.
And our staff notices we have quite a few transgender guests that come, like they've been coming since year one. Regular people. They just come to the convention to have a couple of days of no bullshit. To have a nice friendly time with a group of people that hopefully are all very supportive and generally nice people, right?
That's your convention.
That's the environment we want. It's our convention. That's what we wanted to do. That's why it's a small private event. It's like we're not running PAX here. We're not running RTX. We're not running 20, 30,000 people. Just 1,500. And the staff see there's a lot of noticeably uncomfortable faces. Like there's a girl who's really upset. She's crying. Sucks. And the staff makes the decision, like, what we're going to do about this. Like, we don't know why this guy said this. Is he here to troll the event? Like, is he here just to mess it up for people? Is he here to actually upset people? Or is he just like a giant cringe lord? Like,
my interpretation is that he probably harmlessly was just trying to make a joke that just didn't go over well, right?
Yeah, you see, we thought that until, and this is obviously something we didn't make public, what we'd heard about, one of the staff had actually overheard this guy at a bar like the night before, because there's a few bars around the hotels that are near the convention center, one's literally in the convention center, and people hang around there the night before and drink a lot. And apparently heard him talking to his friends about his plan to sort of say this. And this had come up later. I'm like, well, we don't know for sure. He may have just said that while he was drunk. We don't know. One way or the other, we have some people who are uncomfortable at the show. Then they don't feel comfortable being here. We need to do something about it. We need to do something about it quick. And we need to do something about it in a way that everybody knows. So the best way we thought to do that was, well, the staff made the decision to get rid of him. And like, well, I can put it out on my Twitter because I know everybody at this show probably follows my Twitter. It's got the biggest reach out of all of the guests there. It's the best way to do it without doing we don't want to do a PA announcement or anything. And we want to make sure we can find the guy and, revoke his pass and stuff without causing a scene, without causing any problems. And that's what we did. I announced it.
Well, I saw your tweet, and I guess a lot of people were saying that you started a witch hunt for this guy.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
I mean,
basically what we asked for, because we didn't have a camera on the guy, so we didn't know what he looked like. So what we did was we put out a tweet saying, hey, does anybody know who this person is? Because what we wanted to do was to make sure the staff could go find him and explain to him why we were removing him and then remove him from the building. Like, we never released his name, because of course we would never do that. I don't even know what his name is. I don't even know what he looks like. I had nothing to do with that.
So I guess the crux of it, as I understand, is that a lot of people thought either you started a witch hunt or you overreacted to just a harmless joke. And I guess a lot of people were like, you should have just brushed it off and moved on.
Yeah, and we could have done that. But there were also people in the audience that were upset. And ultimately, the priority has got to be the safety of the guests. It's got to be the guests being comfortable and happy. We just wanted this small community convention where everybody felt safe. So
I found this comment by someone who I guess was offended by the way you reacted to that.
Okay.
And I thought, it seems sincere. So I thought it'd be interesting to read this to you and get your reaction to it, because it seems like some people who were your fans for whatever reason were offended. So I thought maybe it'd be interesting to try to find a middle ground here between you and these people who are actually upset by this. So here, I'm going to read this comment. Longtime fan of Total Biscuits up until the meltdown over the meme question at CoxCon. Why did he take the joke so seriously? It would have gone so much better for him if he just laughed it off and then made a seemingly unrelated comment about it later, assuming he felt that someone may have seen it as transphobic. Clearly, a huge amount of his fan base, as well as casual observers, think that was poorly handled at best. So just to reiterate, why get so up in arms over a joke? And then he says, anyway, no hostility meant, and he is a fan of yours.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I'd ask him the same question. Why get so up in arms over what we did? Ultimately, it seems like none of the people who were actually at the show were upset about how we handled it. Like, I know for a fact that people came to me and said that they were not upset, quite the opposite, that they were happy that it had been handled that way. And it seems like when there's a 4chan brigade and there's a bunch of subreddits that are basically dedicated to trolling and that they've gone after you on purpose, it's kind of hard to take comments like that sincerely. Like, what would have been the best way to handle it? Well, not putting it out on my Twitter would have probably been a better way to handle it. Let's be completely honest about that, because even if that had been handled in the most diplomatic way possible, which on the ground it was, it was the staff handling it. It had nothing to do with me. I'm not offended by it. I'm not transgender. But there are people who are and were upset by it.
I mean, from the outside, from the outside, I agree with you. I don't understand why people would get so unless there's something I missed, because if it's just that one tweet.
Not that I know of.
Because that one tweet was not really that hostile.
No, it was interesting because I knew there was going to be some sort of backlash. I could see that coming a mile away. You know how the internet is these days. As that size was quite surprising. And how long, the fact that this is even still getting asked. This happened in June. Like, I don't even think about it, but apparently some of these guys still think about it, even though they weren't at the event and had no intention of going to the event. I mean, probably never would. I'm just not really sure why they're as unhappy as they are. Are they so defensive over their meme? I mean, if that's the case, I've kind of got to roll my eyes a little bit at that. And they say, well, our meme isn't offensive. Well, to some people it is, You
know what? I feel like I can absolve. I don't understand the outrage. I mean, you were being protective.
It seems like
we're
at the
trying
end,
to be protective.
Your intentions were kind. Your intentions were good. And it seems so minor. The
It
internet
does
is
seem
so
minor.
the internet is so annoying sometimes.
It's a little strange. If I could go back in time and do that thing again, yeah, I'd remove the guy from the show 100%. Would I put it out on Twitter that we'd done it? Probably not. We'd probably just have tried to reassure people at the show later that had come to us and said they were upset about it. Our concern at the time was this is the first time we've ever had any kind of trouble at CoxCon, and we want to make sure that people feel like this is a fun, friendly place. Sure. And they're not going to have any problems while they're here.
So let's assume this guy is a genuine, caring, big fan of yours who was like, man,
sure, let's give him the good fight.
He didn't handle that well. Like I'm upset with the way he handled that. Like, what would you say to him?
I mean, what I'd say to him is that the way that I handled it was an attempt to protect the volunteer staff that made the decision. That could not have handled any of the shit that came their way had they been the ones that were front-facing on it.
Right.
Like, I didn't expect as much of a shitstorm as there was, and there was a shitstorm.
Strange.
But I've dealt with that before and worse.
Right.
I can handle that. Some guy that just signed on as a volunteer, if they got the both barrels of 4chan, they could not. And me being front-facing on it, despite the fact that it was the whole staff that made the decision, was as an effort to protect them. So could it have been handled better? I mean, you can always say that in hindsight, right?
Sure.
But ultimately, my priority is that the people that went to the show know that this is going to be a friendly, fun show, and they don't have to worry about that shit. They don't. It's 2 days of getting away from all the bullshit of life on the internet. You don't want to bring it into the house. It's our private show. Ultimately, we can remove anyone for any reason. There's no free speech argument or anything, despite the fact that a lot of people tried to make one. Even if that was true, it's in the UK. We don't have free speech in the UK. Come on.
So for me, being someone who's very critical too, I feel like with our fans, like having that critical perspective cuts both ways.
Yeah.
When they agree with you, they love you.
Sure.
And then once they disagree with you even a little bit, it's like they fucking hate your guts.
Yeah, and they'll do it for a long time too.
Do you experience that? Does that frustrate you?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when Trump won the election, for instance, I was pretty damn upset about it. Like, why? Because I'd been listening to what he'd been saying about healthcare, and I have stage 4 cancer. That's a pretty severe issue for me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at what he's doing right now. I was like, oh, look, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. Like, I had listened to what he said. So the fact that he had got elected, that was like, what the fuck just happened in the world, right? Am I taking crazy pills? What's happening?
I've criticized Trump in the past, and it's frustrating because it's like, you've watched me for years. You like me, you like my opinions, and it's like this one time you disagree with me, you can't handle it.
Yeah, like that, because
it's like it's okay to disagree with me here, and let's just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I have to wonder if those people are friends with anybody who doesn't think exactly the same way they do, either politically or about anything, Because if they are, I have to wonder how they manage it when they react that way. I think that people build up in their minds this image of what they think this internet person they watch on a daily basis is, right?
Absolutely.
Who they believe they are. They build them up higher and higher. They build them up bigger and stronger than they ever could be. And when there's a crack in that facade, when finally they say something they don't agree with, or they maybe make a mistake, as they ought to, as everyone is ought to do from time to time.
Sure, of course.
That's it. Like the whole giant golden statue that they built shatters into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, I think
and they'll
that's right.
never forgive that person for that.
I don't think in real life they have that illusion about the people that they know in real life. It's
No, I
only
don't think so.
on the internet where it's like, because our channel is, I don't dangerous for a better word. Like, we tend to appeal to both people on the left and the right a lot of times. And so people who are conservative leaning or left leaning, when I say something that cuts against their ideology, because before that they're always like, oh, he's one of us. He's definitely one of us.
That's the thing.
And then they're like, wait, he's not one of us?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all frickin' tribalism, all of it.
Yes.
It's like you want someone as, you've probably heard this time and again, you should stop talking about politics. Like, you should stay in your lane. That's
right.
fucking stay.
Stick
Or
to comedy.
stick to comedy.
Yeah, stick to comedy. Yeah,
I
as if
see
you're not
that
like a registered voter.
every
As if you
time,
don't have the rights everyone else does.
Every time, like if I follow Eric Andre and you'll say something about Trump,
It's always
all the
number one.
comments are like, stick to comedy.
Stick to this, stick to that.
You dumbass.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
I don't know.
That's people that want you, if you're not part of their team, they want you to shut up because they actually view you as dangerous at that point. And I got a shit ton of that.
I agree. I think a comment like that, if anything, is encouraging and just shows how brittle the opposing side is, that they just crumble under the smallest criticism. Stick to comedy. It's like, you're fucking commenting on Twitter. What are your credentials?
Exactly. You know, well, do you have a degree of any? Do you have a political science degree? You don't need one. Guess what? You're a voter, just like everybody else. You know, you're an. Well, probably a lot of these people aren't voting adults. Why don't you stay in your lane, you fuck? You're not even old enough to vote.
12-year-old juice box drinking fuck.
Indeed. If your political opinions extend to how good each brand of Capri Sun is, it comes down to the fact that they want you to shut up because they view you as a threat. That happens to anyone that's in entertainment in particular.
It's quite a shame. I regret it because a lot of times I want to talk openly about opinions I have, but when it comes to politics, it's just not worth it for me to ever get involved because you cut your audience.
It feels like, especially lately, like it's become so serious, so divisive.
You know? It really is. Every time I'll even, I kind of keep a divide. Like I keep politics out of my videos and I keep it on Twitter. You know, and if you don't want it, you don't have to follow me on Twitter.
Sure.
I keep it out of my everything.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I started keeping it out of everything, honestly. And at this point, everyone's so divided. It's like, whose fucking mind am I changing? You have every late night show host in the whole fucking country shitting on Trump 24/7. What am I going to add to that?
Probably nothing. But simultaneously, the risk is that if you don't raise your voice, the people that will end up speaking for you might not be people you want speaking for you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too.
And particularly on healthcare issues in particular. Yeah, you're damn right and passionate about it.
Me too.
As I should be.
My mom, she recently had her heart failure. She almost died. She got a pacemaker installed. They ripped open her chest. It cost millions of dollars. If what he wants to do passes, she will not be able to get insurance. And I'm going to be faced with the choice of letting my mom die or bankrupting myself.
And that ain't a choice. You know, that's the thing people need to understand about healthcare is that when a company has the power of life and death in their hands, that ain't a free market anymore. You don't have any power as a consumer. You got nothing. Right. They hold all the cards, which is why it's important to look at government's involvement in healthcare and say, you need someone as big and scary as the government backing you up. Because if you don't have it, no one else is going to do it. You have no power in and of yourself.
Maybe you could help me, illuminate me, because I'm wondering, like, I know that, like, generally I'm very left-leaning, especially on the issue of healthcare, right? Like, I am a fan of Obamacare. It's helped my family a lot personally, and even me and Hila before we were making money.
Yeah.
I know that conservative people and people who are against Obamacare are not bad people. They're good, meaning they mean well and they have good intentions, as we all do as human beings. So I'm just trying to get into their minds of what do they think what is it that they're accomplishing by just repealing what is existing and saving people?
Sure. The whole
it was a Republican
I don't know why it's so
place.
complicated. Why is it so complicated in the States? Everyone else got it figured out already. In Israel, I don't know. You just have healthcare. It's not that complicated.
Most European countries, it's exactly the same. You know, in the UK, at least until lately, because the Conservative government's there is fucking with the NHS.
Really?
But there's an expectation that you grew up in the UK, you had healthcare. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And they're messing with it in a big way, and that's dangerous. I don't know what the end game is, because you've got to assume at some point that most people are good, well-meaning people. Because if you don't assume that, you might as well shoot yourself in the head right now.
But it's true. It's true. It's true. Just because, like, the country's almost completely divided. You got 50% Democrats, you got 50% Republicans. These people mean well, and they really, I think, in their hearts and in their intentions are trying to make the country better. But I just don't.
What's their idea?
I don't know.
They don't either.
Well,
I guess
there's a lot to criticize Obamacare, I guess. I mean, even when we had it, it was super expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you still can't see a doctor, and seeing a doctor is still expensive. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's better than not having.
That's exactly it. Like,
insurance.
It's a busted system. And it's Romneycare. Like, it was a Republican plan that was compromised on time and time again just to even get it passed in the first place. It's not ideal. It's not even close to ideal, but it's better than nothing. It's better than the medical bankruptcy people were going through before that. It's better than being denied care. If I'd been denied insurance on the basis of a pre-existing condition, I'd be dead now.
My mom too.
There's no question. I'd be dead. I don't have Obamacare either. I have private health insurance, but I couldn't have got it without the pre-existing condition provision protecting me from being denied it.
Yeah.
Really?
You know? So, and my premium is going 20% in January, you know?
Well,
But it's still better.
It's still better than dying. Yeah. That's the thing. Everything's better than dying. Like you'll accept anything. Anything more than that. But I want to know what their damn plan is. You're right. They don't have one.
I think it's just they're so committed to their philosophy of conservatism, of government non-intervention and free market ideals, right? That they think that the government should never regulate anything, that health insurance should be a free market that dictates itself by competition. But it's like you said, it's when it comes down to issues of life and death, there's no consumer choice.
There is no choice. Exactly. They can demand whatever they want. They're literally holding a gun to your head and saying, pay me this much not to pull the trigger. You don't have any control, which is why some stuff you need the government for. You know, you want to leave, say, the building of roads to just random companies that just, you know, won't. It's like, oh, well, we all need roads. Like, let someone own the road, and then they could charge you whatever you want for it on the toll. Like the libertarian ideas of all that kind of stuff. There's some stuff that has to be run by the government.
I feel
they'll
like
make the road take like a really long way, so you have to use their Uber of their own company to go straight.
But if you get our road subscription,
they'll start blowing up neighboring roads and shit. Like, oh god, my dump truck just
How
randomly.
Did that happen? Jeez.
I think back in the day when the country was smaller, there was less people, small towns, more competition because it wasn't dominated by huge companies whose sole purpose was to make as much money as possible. Then free market made a lot more sense. When you've got like 3 mom and pop stores selling bread and fucking one, you know, it's like, cool, that works. But when you've got like 5 insurance companies that are now colluding together,
of course they are.
You know,
it's the same with the internet. I don't see how people can't look at the way that internet monopolies work in this country and not see that actually that's exactly how other things would go were allowed to go like that. That's how healthcare would go as well.
Yeah,
it's like where you have the choice of you can have Time Warner or fuck you. You know, those are your 2 choices.
Right.
So
Comcast, aka the Nazi Party reincarnated.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's the technical term for them. Yeah, it's the Latin.
The National Socialist Party of Comcast.
Yeah. So most people don't know the real name. You know, it's back in the old Articles of Incorporation.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's this American frontiersman attitude. You know, and I'm sure that you very much recognize that this idea of American individual independence back from the days of the Wild West, the days of the colonies. Like, other countries never really had that, so they never grew this idea of self-reliance to an extreme.
Sure.
Right. And it's like, well, self-reliance only goes so far these days.
I forgot, I think it was Mark Twain who said it, or maybe Kurt Vonnegut, every American is just a temporarily embarrassed millionaire.
Yeah, that was the good thing, and that's why they vote against their own interests, because, like, well, someday that's going to screw me over because I'm super rich and I don't want to be taxed, etc. So I'm going to vote in favor of that.
I mean, look, like
come on, guys.
When Trump passes his tax reforms, I'm going to be wiping my tears away with $100 bills.
Yeah, so am I.
Because it's like
I'm going to pass through S Corp. You know, my taxes are going to go down. I don't need my taxes to go down.
Not really. I mean,
they're actually fine.
I'll happily pocket.
Also, at what cost? Like,
who's going to get screwed as a result?
Right. Yeah.
And by the way,
that's the real question.
We're not billionaires either. Like, we'll make a couple $100,000 extra a year, but you've got fucking Apple and Google and Facebook who are already offshoring billions of dollars, not paying taxes.
Yeah, they're already hiding that shit. It's unbelievable how often that happens.
What the fuck do I know?
I don't know. It's just all the giant fucking mess. But
everything's incomprehensible, I feel like, anyway. Like, I'll talk about this and I'll be like, oh, what the fuck do I know?
Well, and then a bunch of people say, you don't know anything
and I'm
about
like, yeah,
this. It's
right.
like, yeah, well, neither does any other voter, but
nobody
they get to
knows
vote anyway.
Everything is so obscured. Information is like such a commodity that I don't know how to understand the amount of information anymore.
It's information
It's kind
overload.
of like what's up. It reminded me of 1984, where like they keep changing the history, and then you just keep doubting everything. So you just don't even know.
No, we've always been at war with Eurasia.
Yeah.
You're not wrong though. That's exactly what it is.
It's spooky.
It's kind of like a spooky technique of making everyone doubt themselves all the time.
It's definitely something going
it's
on.
Gaslighting, isn't it? You know.
It's what?
It's mass gaslighting in many ways, and there's the idea of crisis fatigue, I think they call it. Like, have so many fucking problems bombarding you all the time that you can't individually care enough about all of them. So then you end up caring about none of them. And that desensitizes you to all the bullshit that's going on.
That's like living in Israel. That's why everyone is just upset and yelling at everyone all the time.
You can't even comprehend the amount of shit that's wrong with your life.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, I know you had a huge disagreement. I don't know how huge it was at the time, but with Yogcast about disclosing sponsorships.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
So my question, not to get too into the thick with that, but do you think that people disclosing sponsorships on YouTube and on the internet in general has improved since that time?
I think it has a bit, mostly by necessity. And weirdly enough, the reason why it has is not through channels wanting it to. It's because companies have been forcing them to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed recently.
More and more companies have been like, well, we've always disclosed, because I share the same opinion with you that it's important.
As you should.
But more and more companies, when we close deals with them, are like, you have to put this.
Yep. And that never used to happen.
Right.
In fact, the opposite used to happen. They're like, oh, yeah, don't mention that. You know, you don't need to mention that. That's fine. Now, we just had, here's a crazy example for you. Just a few days ago, Jesse Cox had this playthrough of Uncharted, right? He got a free copy of the game like about 3 or 4 days after it came out. Like Sony just sent him one.
Sure.
Like kind of out of nowhere. And it's like, okay, sure. So he does some videos for the channel, thinks nothing of it, right? A couple of years down the line, Sony gets in touch with him and said, yeah, so you're going to need to add the following disclosures to this video because that was a free product, so you need to disclose that. And it's like, okay, well, I can add it to the description of the title. It's like, no, that's not enough. You have to go back and edit the video. I'm like, no, YouTube doesn't work that way. You can't do that. Jeez. And they kept insisting, no, you have to do it.
That's
you
some
have
serious
to do
ass
it.
covering.
He's just deleted the whole thing now because, yeah, and it really is serious ass covering. It's insane.
It's like, you fucked up.
That's not even a sponsorship. That's like sending a free copy of a game to someone that has a YouTube channel is commonplace business. Right. There's nothing unusual about that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it is changing for the better, but mostly because companies have got uber paranoid about it because the FTC